Hey folks, it's Zach, and this is basically a guided tour of Chapter 1 of the new Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion. So I wanted to kind of do almost like a movie where you hear the backtrack of the people who worked on it, doing kind of a back recording for it. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about Knights of the Fallen Empire. If you are coming in new to Star Wars The Old Republic, then this is a completely new experience for you, and I encourage you to watch this video and kind of get a taste of what some of the story elements and some of the combat elements look like. And if you've already played through the 1 through 60 levels of Knights of the Old Republic, then hey man, enjoy this. There are definitely spoilers ahead. If you're just looking to see like what's up and how to prepare for it, then that's great too, and I'm here to help with that. So anyway, first thing you're going to notice is that they have the traditional Star Wars credit scene, and it's really important that if you haven't actually played the Old Republic before, then this is something that is actually kind of exciting. They had this when you first started up a brand new character at level 1, and we haven't seen it again since. And so really, Knights of the Fallen Empire is basically like The Empire Strikes Back, is to Star Wars. It really feels like a true sequel to the first layer of content we had from 1 to 60. So if you got a chance to read through those credits, awesome. If not, you'll learn a little bit more about it as I talk about it and go through the game. You'll also notice too, this is also another brand new thing they've done for Knights of the Fallen Empire, is that the cutscenes that you're seeing, your character does not necessarily have to be in. So from levels 1 to 60, BioWare was very specific about every cutscene that they did had your character in it, and that is amazing. It's so much fun to do a cutscene, even for some little like fetch quest, and see your character talking, speaking, and just being a part of this this living world. But cinematically speaking, we as TV and movie viewers, we are used to seeing stories being told where we cut away from our main hero and see other action that's going on. And so now in Knights of the Fallen Empire, to kind of up their game a little bit, they've done what they've done in other games, which is just simply to do cutaways. And so now they actually start this expansion not with your character, but showing the new antagonists, basically the Zakulian Eternal Empire and their Eternal Fleet, which obviously, if you looked at it, it feels Star Warsian, but it also feels kind of new, which was really kind of the point. So enter our hero. For this, I was playing my Jedi Guardian. If you've never played Star Wars The Old Republic before, I highly recommend the Jedi Guardian as a great way to step into the storyline. They are very tough defensively. They do very, very good DPS. They have a very nice sized toolbox of defensive and offensive abilities. And also their storyline for the expansion, and then also for the 1 to 60 level story, is probably what I would consider to be the most canon of the 8 stories. So in 1 to 60, you have 8 different character classes that you can play. Each one has their own unique story that ties into the universe, and you are the hero of that story. But of all 8 of them, the one that I feel has the most important plot points and plot beats towards the overall arc of Knights of the Old Republic is the Jedi Knight storyline. It's also the one that feels the most classically Star Wars. Now you can see here I've gotten to the first cutscene, and I'm flying around a little bit on my Jedi Guardian. I'm in an Imperial Dreadnought, and if you were around for the previous expansion for the Shadow of Revan, then you know that where that storyline ended is basically where, with Republic and Imperials teaming up to face the joint threat of the Emperor. And so we're out there looking for the Emperor right now. Visually, I chose blue armor for my Jedi Knight for this scene, just to kind of keep it easy to remember. Typically, the Imperial colors are red and black, and the Jedi Knight colors are pretty much blue. So I figured this will be easy for any new guests to kind of keep track of this. But I'm standing next to Darth Mar, who at this point in the storyline is the de facto leader of the Imperials and the Empire as we know them. And he is an angry dude, let me tell you, because he feels very, very abandoned and betrayed by his Emperor. So we're out here and we're on a hunt. you know, which is what also leads to the chapter title. So if you play through 1 through 60, coming in here as a Jedi Knight is going to be your best bet. You're going to feel very at home with all who these characters are. You're going to feel very much tied to the center of the story. It's also going to make the most sense. There's a lot of plot points, I don't want to reveal them all, of things that are going to happen as the story progresses. And when you're playing as a Jedi Knight, it feels like it's written more towards that character class than, say, an Imperial agent or a gunslinger. You're just going to feel like the character investments into you and you into them, and the things that they reference, and your relationship with the Emperor, it's all going to make a lot more sense if you actually played the Jedi Knight. So anyway, this is you know, the start of Chapter 1, brand new thing. And I also want to mention too, if you're a new player, by no means is what I say gospel. Feel free to play what you like or what you think is interesting. You have one level. If you use your new subscriber token to make a level 60 character, you can jump right in and make a brand new level 60, which is outstanding. And if you delete that character before you hit 61, you get that token back. You can try again. So if you do try a character class and you don't like them, don't, you know, wait. Delete that character before you hit 61, and you can get that token back and make another 60 without having to pay for another token. Anyway, at this point in the plot, we are now meeting head-to-head with our the Zakulian bad guys, and they have a couple different inspirations. They have some really classic Star Wars inspirations to them. They also have some anime influences. If you look at the formation of the fighter, or the ships that are out there for the fleet, you can see that they like to hang in a very specific, tight formation that we're seeing more and more of, that we're kind of drawn in from certain space anime. Anyway, watch my Guardian here. He has some pretty decent gear on for this level at this time, and you'll see he has absolutely zero problems getting through these fights as a DPS. I don't even think I stopped to wait and heal at all. Jedi Guardians, they're very tough, like I said earlier. I'm in Vigilance spec specifically. Vigilance is a great hybrid between a dot spec and just your upfront damage spec. The difference being a dot spec uses damage over times, so you hit a guy with a bleed or a burn or a poison or something of that nature, and the damage is done over time, so over the course of, say, 18 seconds, 30 seconds, while that damage ticks off. And so periodically the bad guy you're facing is getting weaker and weaker. A straight up blow by blow damage dealer means that each move that they have individually hits hard and immediate. So, you know, you'll see here as I do, I think it's called overhead slash on this character, where he literally just pops him one, and you just see a big number pop straight up. No waiting, it just happens. You know, so the nice thing about Vigilance is it kind of combines the two, that you're going to throw out a few dots, and then you have some really hard-hitting moves that either can spread those dots or just finish off guys in blow by blow. If you ever want to play a Jedi Sentinel, which is the other advanced class that a Jedi Knight can become, Jedi Knight's combat is very much a very speedy version of a blow by blow upfront damage dealer, and then you have Watchman, which is very much a dot spec, and then you kind of got Concentration, which is it's kind of its own beast. It basically is all about building up your momentum into very powerful movements. For new players, I definitely recommend, of all the specs you can play, Vigilance. It's very easy, short learning curve, very good playing. Anyway, what you just saw here was our first light side or dark side choice to make. I do want to tell returning players who are just coming back to their expansion, light side and dark side choices really matter now, in a way that the 1 through 60 content did not. So previously, if you were playing 1 through 60 and you made a light side dark side choice, the outcome was inevitably really almost the same. There might be like a minor variation where maybe you send a guy to prison instead of outright killing him. And that just tweaks your storyline a little bit. But here, there's been some light side, dark side choices that you make that can completely eradicate a companion character from your game forever. he's done. You know, and I found that to be especially rewarding because it seems like BioWare listened to players who had complaints about companions like Malavi Quinn or Skadge, guys who they just didn't really want on their crew or had very big problems with, and had been, you know, telling BioWare like, we should really, if this game is about choice, have the ability to just say, I don't want that person on my crew anymore, and either kill them, flush them out in airlock, or just choose not to take them up. So this whole expansion has a huge birth of companions, and birth by B-E-R-T-H, not B-I-R-T-H. Huge birth of companions that you can now find and recruit. And in the storyline already, I've found at least one that can be, you know, permanently killed. At least until they change that information in Chapter 10 onward. In the chapters 1 through 9, this character looks like he is finite with a dark side choice. So I'm really impressed by that. So I do encourage players that as you're making your choices through this game, if you don't feel comfortable with the choice you just made, exit out of the cutscene, do it again, and make sure that you are comfortable with the choice that you are making, because it looks like choices in this expansion could have very deep consequences. Previously in the story, you would make these choices and they were almost arbitrary. You know, they didn't really have quite as much of an impact, but BioWare has been very specific about trying to make this more of a single player experience tailored by your choices, a little bit closer to things like Mass Effect. And I highly encourage players to not play through 60 through 65 as if it was 1 through 60. Really take your time, really explore your options. Same thing with companion affection. Now your companions, as they raise affection, become more effective in battle, meaning that, you know, they do more DPS, they do more heals, they are a better tank with more health, you know, and they're also better crafters, just like they were before. I highly recommend sucking up to some of your companions for approval, where you can find the places for it. It was kind of fun in 1 through 60 to just play as like a straight bad guy, especially if you were a Sith warrior or Sith Inquisitor, to just go around shocking people, force choking people, killing anybody who really kind of upset you in any way. And you know, really there was very little consequences that couldn't be overcome with a few gifts. Now I'm noticing in the conversation options that you will see that somebody, there'll be a note that so-and-so will remember this event, and that comes up again in future conversations. And there's actually a little spot on your companion page where you can see events and a check mark by them that you've completed that state, like, this was the choice that you made with this companion. And for me, that just rings all sorts of danger bells from, you know, games like Telltale games like The Walking Dead or Tales from the Borderlands, that these decisions may come back to haunt you depending on what you did and how you did it. So I would say use caution and some discretion. So at this point in Chapter 1, obviously we're being invaded by the Sikulian forces, and these are the new bad guy droids, which are the Sky Troopers. I think they're very, very cool. They're definitely a lot tougher and definitely better designed than the battle droids that we saw in the prequel trilogy, so score 1 for BioWare. Also, we're seeing here Darth Marr really just being who Darth Marr is. The guy, up to this point, has basically just been a quest giver. It's really great to kind of see him in action, and shortly we'll actually be using him as a companion. I also want to give a quick note. Companions now, if you're a new player, one of the great things about Star Wars The Old Republic is that you are very rarely fighting alone, even during single-player campaign mode. So in a lot of games, you will be running around and, like, take DCU Online or World of Warcraft. It's just you. It's your player character. You are running to your quest giver, you're getting a quest, and you're going and doing that quest. But in Star Wars The Old Republic, they did want you to have the Old Republic, the original games, feel to it. And in that, you actually had companions with you. So at any time in Star Wars The Old Republic from about level 7 onwards, you will have the option to have a companion with you. And those companions in 1 through 60, the original vanilla game, could either be a tank, a DPS, or a healer, but the role was predetermined by that character. So here on my Jedi Knight, his first companion that he gets is T701, which is a droid, and by default, T7 was a tank, and that's all he ever really could be. You could kind of put him in a DPS stance, but he wasn't nearly as effective as a DPS as he was as a tank. And that was kind of the story with all the companions, is that they could sort of DPS if they were either a tank or a mainline healer, but not really. Now, if you watch what I did with Darth Mar there, he starts off in a heal stance, but just by clicking on his portrait, I could switch him into being a healer. And there's no gear involved in that whatsoever. I literally just click on his portrait and change the role. This is a fantastic change from the 1 through 60 experience of the game, where in the 1 through 60 game, you had to gear up your companions, you had to get them specific items for the role that they were playing if you wanted them to be good at it. That's all gone now. Now it's all just tied to their affection. If they like you, they will fight very hard for you in whatever role that you want to put them in. And if you want to play dress up, you can do that with your vanilla companions, which is fantastic. Some of the new companions, though, they do have a locked armor set, but I would still take these changes over the vanilla any day. It basically means, like, for me, I can always have my companion Kira Carson out, and she can do any role that I need her to do. If I need her to be a tank, she's a tank. If I need her to be a healer, she's a healer. If I want her to be a DPS the whole time, she can be a DPS the whole time. And I don't have to switch out and use, say, Doc, just because Doc was a healer and I was on my Jedi Sentinel who was taking a lot of damage, even though I didn't want to use Doc. So anyway, at this point in the story, you saw me just take out the mini-boss of the first chapter. Super easy. If you have even just a little bit of gear, you're not going to find the story content of 60 through 65 challenging at all. If you're a new player, they do have a new player tutorial that they can walk you through some of the opening moves and such. I'll just tell you, for the most part, you're taking on trash in groups of 3. It's very easy. Don't sweat it. If you feel like you're going to jump into this game and just feel completely overwhelmed, BioWare is going to take very, very good care of you. The only way to really, kind of get stuck is to start this game from scratch at level 60 and also choose to have all of your moves tied in with you at once and just try to basically figure it all out at the same time. That would probably be the easiest way to just completely lose your place and have a very bad experience. Go ahead and let the game hold your hand a little bit and piece it together. That's totally fine. Just enjoy the experience. The best way to learn that class is actually to start at level 1 and learn it from 1 up through 60. They've very much streamlined the whole leveling process. So now you can basically just do the story content and play this like a Knights of the Old Republic game, just like the old Republic was when that first came out, which is so much fun. And if you play from like level 1 up, you'll learn who all the characters are. It's a pretty speedy level process. You can, if you got some time to dedicate to it, it'll take about a week to get your character up to about 60. And especially if you're using a few experience boosts. If it's your first time playing through, maybe a little longer, because you're watching through a little bit more of the cutscenes and trying to soak it all in. But if you're a subscriber, it goes very, very fast. And that's one of the things I actually really like about the way that this game is shaped up. I felt like with World of Warcraft, it was very, very grindy to get to level cap. And even with all the heirloom gear that I could possibly have and every trick I could use in the book, I just did not really enjoy the leveling process. With this game, you are the star of your story. And even from level 1, you're getting cutscenes to, let you shape who you are and how you want to fit into this universe. And you have an impact over the overall universe of the Old Republic, which is great. If you are the bounty hunter, then the people that you take out of commission, one way or the other, either alive or dead, are then plot points that get referenced by the other characters in the other stories. These are it's an intricately tied together universe that it's fun to be a part of. So here we are on Zakul, and now Darth Mar and I are prisoners and being taken to see the Eternal Emperor. I do encourage you that if you are in this part of the storyline, take a look around, look at all the hard work BioWare put into the sets. I'm a fan of the games, but I'll be blunt. There's a lot of repetition in the 1 through 60 content, and almost every environment you go to from the 60 to 65 storyline is different than the last piece you just saw. So, you know, being on Darth Mar's ship and then coming to here, this looks different than Darth Mar's ship. The next location you're going to go to has a very remarkably different design elements and so on and so forth through the chapters. It makes the game so much more fun when you have that level of detail put in. The new outfits, the new character designs, the better graphics on some of the characters like Valkorion and Arkin and Valen. They really put a lot of time into this expansion to make it visually more appealing. A lot of players complain that there's no new raid and there's no new PvP content. Both are true. There really isn't, but because of that, BioWare was able to invest more heavy time into the storyline and make it really good. And it's definitely one of the most impactful pieces of storyline that they've put into the game thus far.
You're taking us to your master. I'm taking you to my.
And there goes Heskel. He's one of the Scions. He's one of the new factions that you will meet through the story. And Prince Arkin, who you saw through the cinematic movies if you started up the expansion. Love even the droid armoring that he has on him is different than anything else you find in the game. Here's also a little pro tip as you're walking down this hallway. Take a look around. First time you go through here, take a look around. You can look down, you can look around, and you can just see all these amazing sights as you walk through. But you're not restricted to walk at the pace of all the other characters. If you want to walk straight to the end of the hallway and start the next cutscene, you totally can, just like I showed you here. You might notice too, my character is wearing a helmet, you know, from, it was actually from the old Arcanian set. It was one of the raid gear sets from a while back. But for a lot of cutscenes, you will notice that the game will automatically remove it so you can see your character's face through certain cutscenes. And just a heads up that's something that can happen. So if you're wearing a very elaborate mask and you don't really want to see your character's lips move, you may want to consider what kind of helmet you're wearing. For me, I don't mind so much. I feel like, hey, if I'm a captive of this empire, you know, I'm pretty sure they would honestly have me in like a prison outfit. Shocks me that they would let me be here in full armor and gear, especially like when you see the troopers and the snipers and all of them. You're just kind of like, why would you ever risk this? But yeah, you know, it just kind of shows you the fortitude and guts and safety that these guys feel in this throne room.
You call Emperor is nothing but a
My Jedi Knight too, if you look at him, I actually have a Jedi Sentinel and a Jedi Knight, Jedi Guardian, and I have the same setup over on 2 other servers. And I love the class, especially the storyline. And I've probably romanced Kira Carson probably 5 or 6 times now through those storylines. But for this particular Jedi Guardian, I was kind of going for a little bit more of the farm boy look with the longer hair and the battle scar, trying to make him look like he had come from poor upbringing. And if you notice, all my characters have silver eyes if they're Force users. I tie them all to the same legacy. So my gamer handle obviously is Zach Ember, and all my characters here are part of the Ember legacy. If they're a Force user, they have those silver eyes. So kind of unifies them all together. My Sentinel has actually very short brown hair, you know, and it makes it look like they're related, basically. But between the 2 of them, I feel like they're probably the most canon figures in most of my cutscenes and most of the storylines. Here's Darth Mar standing up for his empire.
You would sooner die than acknowledge my superiority.
It is you who fears death, Valkorion. I do not. I will not kneel.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to mention too is that Darth Mar, even though he's Sith, I definitely saw him as one of the heroes early on in this part of the expansion, just because he, of all the Sith I think we've met in the game, is one of the most selfless. Even though he's a Sith and a dark side Force user, he really did care very much about his Empire. And now he's dead. And yes, I'm going to confirm that he is dead. That was his farewell. So a trick in a lot of screenwriting is to show how tough and bad your big bad is going to be. They kill off an established character who was already supposedly really tough. So a great example would be like Rocky IV. Ivan Drago, beats and kills Apollo Creed in the ring, who we saw could stand toe-to-toe with our hero Rocky in 2 movies, plus trained him in the 3rd. So killing Apollo Creed tells you that Ivan Drago is just a complete monster. Darth Maul here being pretty much the best of the Sith council members who are still left, and pretty much the de facto leader of the Empire, getting one-shotted by Valkorion, not a good sign on how tough Valkorion is, and really kind of showing what kind of muscles Valkorion has to flex here. This scene here between Valkorion and the Jedi Knight, I'm gonna be straight with you guys. It makes the most sense if you are a Jedi Knight. What he's saying here about having his full attention. If you've played any of the other classes, then most of them gain the Emperor's attention at the end of the Revan plotline. But the Jedi Knight, his main story from 1 to 60 eventually brings him head to head with the Emperor. By Chapter 2, he has the most contact with the Emperor than any other storyline in the game. So a lot of this definitely feels mostly canon for the Jedi Knight. And here we have the, in the words of Firefly, "Curse your sudden yet inevitable betrayal." Kind of saw that one coming with the Arkin. Oh, as a side note, my character is wearing blue, and usually I use either silver or a blue lightsaber color crystal, but to make him differentiate between the other characters out there that are using blue, I did decide to use a purple color crystal for his lightsaber, so it makes it a little easier to recognize. And there goes Arkin. I find it deeply ironic that a Jedi Knight stabs a Sith through the back, but this is the Emperor we're talking about here. Taking him head on was obviously not going to work. Love that you see that, like, the justification there of why you'd have to stab him in the back. If you come at him from the front, he was completely using the Force to just block lightsaber blows from his own son, who is also an extremely powerful Force user. So I felt like that stab in the back, though it doesn't seem very Jedi-like to do, is extraordinarily justified. By the way, this scene plays out very differently if you submit to the Emperor instead of refusing to kneel before him. So again, your storyline's going to change depending on what choices you are making. Previously in the 1 to 60 content, the changes, it was kind of, could go either way. Sometimes it was a big change, sometimes it was a little change. But you might do something like, hey, refuse him, and then they would like knock you down to your knees anyway. Or you'd say like, kneel, and then you go to start kneeling, and then some guy knocks you down to your knees. And you're just like, either way, you ended up on your knees. With this, you can definitely see it's like if you choose to kneel, that cutscene and the dialogue there plays out differently, as does what happens to the Emperor. I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm just letting you know to maybe check it out a few times on multiple tunes and see what that looks like. Okay, so another big part of the plot that BioWare wanted to talk about was that there was going to be a time skip. And so what we're seeing here is the start of that time skip. Basically what you have happening is now that you're unconscious, they're going to put you up into carbonite, and Chapter 2 will be, well, I'll let you see what happens in Chapter 2. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and some of the commentary on it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them up to my YouTube page. Ask me anything. I love, obviously, helping people out. Also, if you want to try this and you aren't actually a subscriber yet, use my new friend referral link that I'll link below. Feel free to use that. Jump in, get your hands dirty with the game, best way to know if you're going to like it is to actually try it. It's kind of like a restaurant. To go to a restaurant to watch people eat and see if you like it. So come out there, give it a shot, say hi. Love to see you. All right, you guys all take care, and we'll see you in Chapter 2.